Hi, welcome back to Books and Bullshit. Just as a reminder, this podcast does contain spoilers.
This week we read The Crimson Moth and Heartless Hunter by Christian Cicerelli.
Okay, so I liked the book. I am looking forward to book two. I am glad though that it's just a duology and that book two is the end of the story. I'm not gonna lie. I gave it an overall 4 out of 5.
I gave it about like a 3.75 out of 5. And that's just because, like, for me, the romance at times felt a little rushed,
Yeah,
and then it was just a little slow for me. I like good world building, but if you're going to have the whole first book be world building, then maybe it needs to be more than 2 books. Otherwise,
but it also for the world building we had, it didn't feel like a whole lot. It felt like you had a lot of political world building, but not like
all politics are the same,
but not the like landscape or like what
the
continent looks like.
I guess I would have loved a little bit more details describing what everything looks like around us, other than like, what it used to look like.
Not even just that. Like, we knew they were on an island, but there was a main continent. But they also talk about how like there's other areas, and so I wish they had flushed out like the world map.
Yeah, like like they have their little village and their town. Their town is the only place going through this, or are they like, if she went like 100 miles inland from on their island, is it the same? Like, because it seems like they're only occupying a couple hours section of the
island, right?
And because from the Opera House to Wintersea, where Rune lives, is an hour.
Yeah,
horse ride.
And she even said like to the capital was only like an hour or 2 horse ride.
Yeah,
but like, because for me, they had talked about how like they were shuttling witches off the inland to the mainland where they didn't care if you were a witch, which makes me think, did the reign of witches only affect this island, and that there's other leaders ruling other areas, and that's why they don't care if people are witches? Like,
yeah,
because like the New Republic is only on this island, and only they're hunting and trying to exterminate witches from just like, I just wish that aspect of it, of the world, was more detailed, like, and fleshed out, because like I'm kind of still left a little confused of, okay, but kind of how did just your island get to this point in the overarching scheme of the rest? I guess
what I say is it was like a really slow book for the first part. It's a lot of, oh, well, this is who this is, and this is what we're doing, and this is what happened and why it happened, and that's all really, really great. But like, sometimes when you're giving the events for events that happen prior to a book, you don't need to make the whole like first half of the book about those events, essentially. And it's like, I couldn't read it more than a couple pages without there being some sort of mention of, whoa, what happened 2 years ago.
Yes.
And it felt like it almost at times was overshadowing present day events, which then made our characters almost blind. They're so wrapped up that in what happened 2 years ago that they're not noticing these small coincidences. And Rune is smart. Gideon is smart. They're not stupid characters.
No.
So they shouldn't have missed some of this.
But they did. And like, I can give a little bit of understanding of why Gideon could still be wrapped up.
Well, everyone's fucking lying to him.
No, I mean, just that it takes a long time to get over the kind of trauma that boy went through.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with Cressida, So I can understand how, with him being so adamant still on hunting witches, why that is still a huge focus for him, and why he hasn't.
Oh, well, yeah, but what I mean is like missing the, like, how almost like the Crimson Moth always leaves the signature, but wasn't when she was killing people,
right?
You know what I mean? Or how Gideon had intimate knowledge of Cressida and the way she likes to kill people and torture them. And he didn't draw the similarities to how the Blood Guard was found. But you can hear it when he describes Cressida's actions in the book, that they sound really similar to the way the Blood Guard's being found killed.
And like, even in the book,
he's too smart not to catch that.
Even in the book, though, he did. There were moments where he did remind himself that Cressida was dead. So I think part of it is that he was so firmly trying to hold on to the belief that Alex did truly kill her and that she was dead. That I think that's what ultimately led him, was also his faith that his brother would never lie to him and never sabotage him.
But I mean, in a world of magic where 3 bodies disappeared pretty simultaneously right after they were supposed to have been killed, I wouldn't be trusting no one. You could, like, if I went through what he went through, you couldn't pay me to trust my own family member further than I could throw them. You know?
But I think I think Gideon, as the oldest child, though, has a lot of guilt that his whole family was pretty much murdered, especially when it didn't dive into it too much, but when you hear about like what his mom was accusing him his dad of, I like, clearly all the sisters were doing some form of torture to that family, like,
oh, absolutely.
And so I think for him, especially since Alex got to escape that, he wanted him to be able to keep living that kind of innocent, naive life. And that also came back to bite him in the butt, because I think Alex, as much as he says he
I understand your plight with witches, except I'm literally going to let the one that left you a ghost of a person that I found on the floor of a boxing ring alive. Man, you know what? If I came home from traveling abroad and I found out that your mom or your husband was sitting there torturing you, murdering your family, and all sorts of stuff, and I came home and you were getting your ass just straight kicked in a bar, and that's where I found you, and then they threw you outside with the trash like you were nothing, I'd be burning your house down.
Being like,
with everyone tied to chairs. I'd be feeding your mom gasoline if I found out she put you through that. Are you kidding? I'd eat your husband. You know what I mean? Sympathy nowhere. That's my bitch.
Especially because,
back the fuck up.
Especially since he wasn't even trying to fight back. He went there every night to get his ass beat, because that's what he truly thought he deserved. He thought he was that worthless, that he was truly just the witch's whore.
Tell me if you found me like that.
No.
And you heard everyone calling me, you know, my husband's whore.
Not only was your husband done, I'm burning that whole fucking bar down.
Exactly. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
What a bad brother. Like, Gideon deserves so much better. He sacrifices so much for Alex, and Alex basically shits on his chest every chance he gets.
Also, part of it, what really, really peeved me off, like pissed me off, is Alex being like, I thought by now he would heal and he'd go back to being the brother that I knew. Before he went through torture, you think your brother, let me just go to my closet and dust that coat off. Like, dude, I don't think he realizes that his brother's never going to be the kid that he was before he met Cressida, because of what Cressida did and the shit that he went through. Yeah. You don't get past that and move on and go back to who you were before.
Listen, I was just hoping that if I completely abandoned him and also like never spent time to him and created a whole false life that he has no idea of, I'm basically not even who he thinks I am. Oh. And I think he's going to go back to being the same person, as I too am also now a person in his life lying to his face.
Not only just that, he's like not only were you lying, you kind of cut him off to the point where he thought you didn't even like him and didn't even want him around. That, like, you know, when he got shot and Gideon's seen that and he's seeing how he's reaching for Rune, he was like, I'm not even wanted.
Like, no one even loves me. No one fucking cares about me. There's not a soul on this earth who's ever cared about me, because the one person I thought did, who I did love at one point, literally just tortured me, killed my sister, made my mom go crazy, and my dad killed himself.
Yeah. And, like, not only that, I mean, you do see that Alex does love his brother, because he does tell Rune, like, tell him I love him. But I'm like, dude, you should have been fucking doing that yourself.
Wait, hold on. But listen to the irony of that. Tell my brother, who's a witch hunter, who officially just tried to kill you and me in front of everyone, that I love him, because he's totally going to let you get close enough to say that. Alex is the world's biggest dummy.
Like, I don't think he ever put 2 and 2 together. Like, don't get me wrong. On a general whole, I understand where Rune's coming from, in the sense of what the Witch Queens did was not good. They deserve to absolutely be slaughtered in their beds. For sure. But what the Republic is doing, also just slaughtering witches just because they're all evil, like, that is just bigotry, really.
Oh, yeah. For genocide.
Yeah, and Jen, like it's not okay. And
However, there's definitely the chance to do better.
there is, but it's just like the only person in the New Republic who I can kind of give more sympathy to for why he has that firm belief that all witches need to die is Gideon.
Oh, yeah.
All the rest, I'm like,
well, and like people like Harrow and stuff, because Gideon is like, this cause isn't just for me; it's for people like Harrow too, who had their whole ear cut off by a witch. I won't lie, I was kind of thinking a little bit there for a bit that maybe Harrow was the liar.
Me too. Like part of me was like, is she putting Rune, not Rune, Gideon onto Rune's track to hide? Like, because I was like,
to get her off of her own,
because like you knew that Rune wasn't the person who was slaughtering those blood guards.
Oh yeah, and you knew she didn't set the spell fire and stuff, but
you're like,
it was Harrow,
right? Like there was a point there where I was like, is she trying to twist it to make it seem like the Crimson Moth is more than just somebody trying to save her own kind?
Exactly.
Because I think at the end of the day, that's truly what it was. Is she was just trying to get her own kind to an area of safety because
oh yeah, Rune's ultimate goal was just making sure they weren't being victims of mass genocide.
Also, the way they did the killings, the purging, is just so unbelievably horrific. Stringing them up by their feet, dangling them like a piece of meat,
but beautiful. Because if you're gonna be a bad guy and you are gonna go around killing people like that, you might as well do it creatively.
Oh no,
and that certainly was creative. That's a good death in a book. They could have just like knifed through the temple, beheaded them. Very standard. Now they're stringing them up like pigs for the slaughter. That's kind of creative.
They're like, you're gonna bleed out. We're gonna bleed you dry. The thing that you use to cast your spells. I totally got the symbolism of it. I was just saying. Oh, yeah. I can understand seeing that and thinking, oh, I need to save my own kind from that because pretty fucking horrific. If I saw you strung up by your feet and throat slit,
I hope you'd be right next to me because if I'm going down, I'm hoping we're going together.
But let's say I was away and somehow they caught you. Okay, in this what if situation,
no, poor me.
No, I would be like, oh, this is wrong. I'm gonna have to try and save as many people as I can until I'm caught because can't let no one else go through that.
However, though, if it came down to like a you or me situation, and I was like, listen, they already know I'm for sure a witch, but they don't know you're a witch, and I told you to turn me in to protect yourself. The last thing I'd want you to do is stick around and save people's lives. Like, run, get out.
Like the way I'd turn you in, wait till like the heat died down, made them think I was just a stupid socialite, and the way I would then be booking it the fuck out of Dodge.
Right? I would not be throwing that gift away with so much risk. And I do get why she did it, especially because at the end of the day, things like this in books are plot drive.
Also, she did tell her to go find somebody, so that whole time I think she was also really just trying to find Seraphine.
She didn't say, hey, go find Seraphine and rescue all these witches. Nah, man, the way I'd be chasing leads and sticking to the shadows, you ain't catching me. I am not showing up at the local holding cell.
The way I'd only be looking for Seraphine.
Oh, yeah. Or the only way I would ever rescue witches who hadn't already been captured, because as much as you would want to save them, if your ultimate goal is to find this one particular witch so that way you can learn what your grandmother, I would be doing everything I could to stay under the radar. Now I could get, if Rada's when Seraphine gets taken, that alters it to, well, now I'm just going to start rescuing witches because all hope is now officially gone for me to figure out how to be a witch.
Or just trying to rescue just her, because at that point too, if you'd laid low, no one would fucking know about you.
Right.
The way you could actually get into the holding cell and rescue the one singular witch, and then people would be like, oh shit, we got a witch on her. And the way you would never show the fuck up again.
Yeah.
The way you would just be a fucking urban legend.
It's all plot drive. Remember that witch who broke into the palace prison? It's impregnable. I find that word so funny. Whenever someone's like, this vault is impregnable, I'm like, well, I mean, maybe you just haven't come in it hard enough.
I think it's Yeah.
Yeah, they literally say it's an impregnable prison. Like, okay, we're not trying to get it pregnant. That's all my brain does at first. I'm not trying to knock up the vault. I'm trying to break out of it. You don't, the baby doesn't get pregnant to be born. It's born. The pregnancy happens well before this. You already impregnated the vault when you filled it with people. It's already pregnant. It's time to give birth and bust some bitches out.
But yeah, no, like I had some issues with that. I just also the whole like part of it I think was the way of trying to keep it mysterious, but not mysterious to us. Let us know that like somebody close to Rune knew more than they were leading on.
Oh, and honestly, that's why, like I was telling you, I suspected either like Verity as someone like covering or like up to something suspicious because, she's a student and then she had this like really tragic family story. And if you paid attention, the story Verity gave to Rune was really similar to what happened to the sister queens. My sisters were killed by, our parents. And that's like the big difference is our parents are the reason they died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which there could be truth in that because the former queen could have done those things, and that's why the former queen's dead.
Exactly.
Like there is truth to what she like. We don't know because we don't know enough about
the sister queens in their life before they got taken down. And that's just the thing is like it very the story was so similar to Cressida's that I was like, that seems odd. And then it's like almost any time another witch was present, Verity was there. Or like how there was, Rune walked into her casting room and there was that book that was out and Verity immediately, well, that one's just too strong for you. You're not willing to do what it takes. It's like, who talks to their friend they're in cahoots with like that?
Right?
Her willingness to, the second Rune faced the difficulty. Oh, well, you can cut me.
Also,
the
fact that my basing was that she wrote a list of eligible bachelors that Rune could marry to get information,
but left Gideon off of it,
which was a red flag. Also, how she got upset, you could see it when Rune and Gideon were flirting next to her. Like she wasn't happy, which in my mind was kind of, I was like,
how could you not be happy for your friend? This is literally the most eligible bachelor, and yeah, it's risky, but any of these would have been a risk.
But now knowing that she's Cressida makes sense because Cressida was so possessive of Gideon. Which I think is why when Gideon was like, I would rather die than come with you, why she was going to shoot him. Because she didn't want Gideon to be with anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Either Gideon was completely numbed and worked to her training where he didn't fight back anymore, or he's dead. And now she's killed the last remaining link.
Like she said she would if he didn't listen, by the way. Like, I get the bullet was intended for Gideon, but she did basically say, if you didn't listen to me, you still have one family member left I can take from you.
I know.
Poor Gideon. I just, most of that book, I just felt so bad for him because, like, literally everyone around him is lying to him. And it almost feels like it even feels like Harrow's lying to him.
Yeah.
Why was she so insistent? Who's her intel? Who told her that Rune could possibly be the Crimson Moth when there was only 2 people really who knew for sure?
Especially when the mark was like only
Rune
found.
was sitting here leaving clues everywhere.
Especially when it was only found on one of her ships. And he did look. There was no reason why he needed to take her to bed to prove she had no casting.
There was no reason that he needed to investigate her that further when she literally paints herself as a dumb socialite and clearly has other people in charge of her business. All he ever had to do was look at who's in charge of her boats and assume it was them.
Not only that, it's the fact that everybody, when they thought that he was falling for her and that he had looked, they then were like, oh, so you actually fell for the dumb socialite? Everybody actually thinks she's dumb. So if you think she's so stupid,
how did you think she was capable of this?
Yeah.
So why was Harrow so insistent that they need to get together? I'm not saying Harrow's a bad guy because obviously they wanted to insist on Rune and Gideon getting her.
Yeah.
My brain is so tired.
You're good, sorry.
Anyways, why would they insist so hard? Oh, well, you need to see them naked. You need to get between those sides. Unless they knew that Rune could potentially be capable of really strong magic. And magic, as through almost every book ever, is also tied directly into your emotions, your feelings. So the more she cares about Gideon, the bigger her magic could potentially end up growing, especially in concerns to feelings with him. So it's like, is Harrow kind of like on an even more secret mission?
right? But part of me also really wants to know, because they did say that usually magic is passed from family bloodlines. It has said that she is an orphan and that her parents died on a shipwreck, and technically her nan was not her biological grandma,
but she has magic
but
that's similar. Which
so
means...
and it's powerful magic. And she's even stating, like, when she did use Alex's blood for that Earth Thunder, how easy it was,
how it just felt like she was the magic.
And so part of me wants to know is if her bloodline is somehow part of the ancients.
I think so. I think the reason her blood wasn't like detected in her family's line, because you have to think, if you're part of the ancient witches, you know, the top dogs up there, they probably centuries ago started taking measures to make sure their bloodline could survive no matter what, which would mean secret lines, secret children, bloodlines that, as far as anyone's concerned, have never been magic.
Yeah.
And just appeared one day. So where does Rune's bloodline appear? You know what I mean? Because it's like how she was talking about in the beginning, when she's like, it almost feels like I'm forcing it for myself. And then the second she gets an access to like fresh blood or even good blood, it's so easy. And then the second she has access to Alex's blood, she's like, I am magic. Like,
yeah.
She's like, if I had known, it'd been like this.
And she's like, this is what it's like for every witch.
And I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. Because if it is, why would there be different?
She shattered the literal earth, and all she'd been using is period blood. Of course, even Cressida.
Yeah,
Cressida, you know, it speaks to just how hard Cressida had to fight to get the kind of strength she has if she is constantly having to brutally murder.
Well, it's what I was about to say. I was like, because they had outlawed arcane magic, which is because it corrupts the witch, but it's also the most way you get the most power. And I feel like that's how the really powerful ones got powerful, was with the arcane. So the fact that she was able to do a higher level spell, but not using arcane, like using, what was it, Mirage or the whatever, Majora. Yeah. And it was so easy for her, especially with somebody who has no training, has only really done the basic levels, only ever used her period blood. And the fact that those ruins came so easily to her in that moment makes me think that there is something in her bloodline. She has
definitely
to be
ancient magic. I think book 2 is going to be really phenomenal. I really enjoyed book 1. I really enjoyed
I think for book 2, I really hope for Gideon that it's not.
Well, I won't lie, I hope he at least punches Rune in the face like one time.
That, or I just hope that, like,
mainly after she finds out, or he finds out, that she had his brother hide from him that he didn't kill Cressida.
Yeah. I just really hope that he has a happier story. I don't know. I just feel so bad
for Gideon. Like, I feel bad for Rune, don't get me wrong. She's had it kind of hard. Her parents drowned. Her grandma died. She's had to do all this stuff to save the witches. You know, I feel bad for her in a lot of ways, but Gideon was like straight tortured.
Yes.
By a witch.
Yeah.
In a number of physical, mental, and sexual ways. And that's just like terrible. Rune's over here like, oh, I'm a murderer because my grandma told me to sacrifice her to save myself. And Gideon's over here like, I'm a piece of shit and unworthy and worthless, and I will never be good enough for anyone ever because of what happened with that witch.
The fact that, like, he so inherently was like, if Rune's not the Crimson Moth, as a good brother, I need to stand back and let Alex have her because he's the better man for her. I'm not worthy.
Alex says nothing but, I play piano and lie to everyone around me. And Gideon's up here like, I'm a good guy. I don't even beat these witches. Like, I don't even necessarily agree with everything that's happening in the New Republic, but like, also witches are the fucking devil because of that one who just fucking like
destroyed me,
essayed me for years and tortured me and, you know, killed my sister
as retaliation when she realized me being a server wasn't affecting me. So what?
Well, wait, what did she expect in that? Like, you know, she would have been mad if he'd been sitting there like, you're so tea. She was like,
I was hoping he'd come up to her at the end and be like, please don't make me do that again. I'll do anything you want. I'll worship you.
Please never make me feed tea to stingy socialites ever again.
Like, as if he didn't grow up in the worst of the ghettos. Like,
man. I'm just saying, if I was her and I was going to punish someone, tea service is not how I would go about it. You know, oh, well, I don't, you know, I would have, like, I don't know, maybe, like, if I was really a super powerful twisted witch and I was wanting to teach someone that I was trying to sadistically torture a lesson on how much I truly own him.
Yeah.
I would probably cast a spell that paralyzes his body, and then I'd offer him up to my fellow witches to touch him and do whatever they wanted with him.
The way you would have broke that poor man, even worse.
Just saying, you don't want to make me fucking happy. Look at how easy I fucking own you. I will step on you.
I shouldn't laugh, but
no, I'm just saying, like, Cressida clearly wasn't creative enough. And that's why she was on set. Serve tea because I'm unhappy with you, and this is a punishment. No, the fuck that ain't. He naked.
And then just going straight from that to being like, well, I guess I'm going to murder your sister.
You know, or I don't know, maybe get like a really small cage that his sister could fit in, and you put her inside of that and dangle her above the ballroom while he's serving tea. And every time he doesn't do it perfect, you drop her a little bit. And in the middle, it's just like a pit of fire. That feels a little bit more torturous than just serving some tea to some rich, snobby ladies.
Fair.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm just saying.
You know, or like every single time he doesn't keep direct eye contact with her, basically the whole time he's serving tea, no matter where he is in the room, she like breaks one of his sister's fingers.
I guess we know who the villain would be. But, like, I don't know. I feel like for book 2, I really hope Seraphine helps train Rune. And I do know, just based upon the description they have given, that she's going to have to get...
Rune and Gideon end up working together, which obviously is going to spawn the romance, and maybe we'll get some good...
Because, like, I do know that she even agrees that Cressida needs to die. Which she does. Like, Cressida... because she was like, she doesn't want to swap out one evil regime for another evil regime.
Yeah, you know, I can't wait till Rune is the new queen. With Gideon by her side, leading the new republic.
Where we don't mass murder witches.
Or people.
Or cut off their ears.
I do really hope it ends with a happily ever after. That would make me pretty happy. I think I'll be a little bit angry if Rune and Gideon don't end up hanky spanking it up and making up, because I do really like them together. However, I think Gideon deserves me. Because if I was going to torture him, I would at least do it well.
I do like how they feed off each other's intelligence.
Yes, I definitely like when a pairing happens and the intelligence matches. Nothing annoys me more in a book than a stupid, dumb, useless girl.
Or man.
They can both. I don't know, man. Sometimes when the men are a little bit stupid, I like it because it gives the woman character time to really shine, because he's just kind of like a little big dumb who's just like happy to be there. That's really nice sometimes. But we've got enough stupid women.
I just hate when like the man's so stupid that you're just like,
oh yeah, I like when he's more like happy-go-lucky stupid. Like, he's not here for a long time. He's here for a good time. Dumb.
Yeah.
Not I'm so useless. If you hand me a gun, I don't even know how to fire.
I can do like naivety dumb in a male character, because especially when they're just like, I know she's gonna protect me, la di da di da. I'm like, awesome. You trust your woman as you should.
I like when he's really dumb at first and like has almost like no skills or anything other than being like a big dopey good like feel good hug golden retriever man at the beginning, and then by the end he's like a badass. Like the book series Premonition does it really well with her soulmate in it, because he's kind of just like this like dopey, like has the best intentions, but he's kind of a big dum and by the end of the books he's really intelligent, self-sufficient. I really like when they do that. I don't like dumb female characters.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know, I really enjoyed the scene in the mines. Part of me was really hoping he was gonna unmask her right there, see that it's her, and be so shocked they end up like stuck down there for a good few hours or something. And then they're like end up talking, and he's like, "Oh shit, actually, I'm on her side." And then they were gonna go hunt down the witch that was killing the blood guards together, and it was gonna be like this whole thing and whatnot. So I was a little bit sad that scene. I was hoping for a little bit more inappropriate touchy, kissy, hate bangy for me.
Also, I feel like
Just wanted the anger bang.
It's also for me, it's described as enemies to lovers, but to me, it wasn't enemies to lovers.
It feels like lovers to enemies.
Yes.
Or suspects to lovers to enemies to lovers.
Because also, never once did he actually really think she could be the Crimson Moth truly, because like
until he showed up at her house.
And exactly. So I think maybe on her end she knew that they were supposed to be enemies, but on his end, I don't think that they're going to be truly enemies to lovers until book 2.
Oh yeah, they're definitely enemies now.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Because she's like, I know he's gonna follow me, and he's like, I'm gonna hunt you down.
And she's kind of like, I'm kind of looking forward to him hunting me.
Like, girl, I can't wait to be hunted. Me too, girl. Me too. If I had Gideon hunting me, I would already be found. Like, turn the boat around. I want him to, like, I don't know. I just want, like, a scene where he's holding that casting knife to her neck as he's just like, to her, oh, I hate you, and almost. That'd be so hot.
I think these are YA books. I don't think we're going to get a dark romance out of this second book, but
I'm just saying there's some potential there. A little bit of, I don't want to murder you, but I could. So I'm going to put my dick in you. Just saying. And they had I would say, they're definitely not spicy books.
No.
However, I also want to say that the romance is the main forefront of the books either. It definitely feels like the story.
I think the romance took a back burner, which it should have, to both of them trying to outwit each other.
Which was really fun. I actually really enjoyed some of the banter when they were like in their own heads talking about the same situations. And both of them are like, I have a leg up. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're both like, wait, no, I'm drowning. They have the one up. And all these situations, they're walking away from me like, oh, they totally won.
Both of them. I lost.
Oh, you're both losing.
You're right.
Oh.
I like Rune as a character. I do. I kind of wish she was a little bit more skeptical of Verity, especially because
your friend suddenly shows up in your life right after the revolution and has no problem with the fact that you're a witch, despite the fact that her own siblings were apparently just killed for this thing. If I was in Verity's situation where I wasn't a witch, but my sisters were killed for being witches, and I just discovered this girl was a witch at some like off chance because she wasn't careful enough how to party, you know what I mean? I would not be her friend.
Also, the fact that she smells like roses, which was Cressida's.
Or she's doused in so much perfume that it literally makes like other people feel sick to be around her.
Yeah. Like, what are you masking?
Yeah, what are you covering up, bitch? Are you smoking the...
Like, what scent is so prevalent on your body that you need to douse yourself in perfume?
Oh, yeah.
The way I'm a skeptic, though, like, the way I would be looking at Verity, like,
The way I'd be so paranoid in these circumstances that if a weirdo scholar girl who wanted to befriend a socialite who has no like they're from such completely different worlds, the chances of them being friends are so slim, and a revolution wouldn't have caused them to be friends.
No.
Especially when it's been very clear throughout the whole book that the rich kind of just stayed rich and got richer, and all they did was just change whose side they were backing.
All they did was just turn on their friends.
You know what I mean?
Their
and so, like,
quote unquote, previous friends or family members to stay in power, which also makes me feel like the New Republic really wasn't that great, because to stay when you're riches, all you had to do was turned in a witch. And part of their things that even Gideon mentioned of why people were flocking to the New Republic back when it was a revolution was they were promising to make it better, where you wouldn't be
where the rich weren't rich anymore and the poor weren't poor, and it wasn't just about taking down the witches, but by creating a life that everyone was equal and better.
Where you weren't like doing horrible work for measly pay, and where you weren't not eating so that way you could feed your kids, you know, like where the kids weren't starving, and there was no change.
Except if you are a child of a witch, we're gonna burn your forehead and tell everyone it is illegal to help you because you just happen to be related to a witch or something.
Yeah, fuck you.
Or know a witch and whatnot. Yeah, and now you have to pay penance for that. Because you committed a grievous sin. And they're killing children like that, and everyone's like, yeah, that's fine, that's better. That's totally better when the witches were in power, except like nobody knew the sister queens were using arcane magic, and
like they knew some things were going on.
They knew some stuff was up, but they didn't like even like if anyone was going to know that the sister queens were using arcane magic, it would have been other witches. And even other witches, Rune is like, what do you mean? Like, you don't understand, Gideon. They couldn't, like, that was against the law for even them to do.
Yeah.
So if they were doing that, like, you don't like, she says it straight to Gideon. If they were doing that kind of magic, they're not the same as every other witch. They've dirtied themselves.
They've corrupted themselves.
You know what I mean? That right there, speaks to like
how smart Gideon is. I feel like he should have heard that and then like it should have started some sort of turntables. Yeah. I'm not saying it should have changed his mindset immediately, but it should have, put some doubt into his mind on
all witches are bad.
All witches are bad. Because even as witches, they had standards of no
what was
taking.
Okay.
What was okay? Because even they were like, no, taking magic, like taking blood from an unwilling participant, corrupts you as a soul and makes you thirst for more power and thirst for that,
which is not what you want. Your connection to magic is supposed to be, a give and a take that's symbolic and beautiful, not something that's you just taking it and corrupting it and being dirty with it.
Yeah, especially because they were like, it makes them crave for a bigger and bigger turnout, and so it had been outlawed because people were like, no, don't corrupt yourself. And so I feel like as a whole, like even if other witches truly like if there probably were some, like the royal council probably knew to an extent, but the everyday witch like Hernan, like the people who were just part of that society probably didn't have a yes, they were socialites and they were aristocrats, but if you look at any sort of monarchy, the only people who are truly
privy are people who live in the palace.
And are a part of their council. Those are their true trusted.
And even then, maybe not all of them on the council.
Just
you
some.
Know what I mean? Basically, unless you're the hand of the queen or king and the lord of whispers, you don't know nothing at all. Really, you have what they want. Those 3 people want you to know.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there was 5 people who knew maybe the depth of how fucked up everything was. And Gideon.
Yeah, because this is, yeah.
And it obviously once like Gideon was a part of the rebellion and was able to share kind of like his own experiences with all of that and whatnot, I could see where it skewed the opinions. And, clearly like we hear Harrow's story where, she had
her master stood by while somebody cut
off her ear and stuff. And, that does come to speak of like, did the person who cut off their ear, was it someone like one of the sister queens? Because it isn't ever said who cut off Harrow's ear.
Right.
Someone did. And honestly, if you were an aristocrat in that society and you were standing there and your queen came up and wanted to cut off the ear of your worker, your slave, and who are you to tell them no? Especially if you're suspecting that they are using magic that makes them significantly more powerful than you because now they're corrupted. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't stand up for that. And it also wonders because Harrow slips, my master was never caught. Well, what if they were never caught because Harrow's right there with them, still protecting them, still serving them?
Right.
What if they're pulling strings to help create seeds of doubt within the Bloodguard to make the rebellion easier? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like there's
politics,
man. So much politics.
It's funny we read we read a book that's so politically based right now.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. Oh,
I was
God.
born on election year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Clinton became president the day I was born. Nice. I'm gonna dress as Monica Lewinsky for Halloween next year. Anyways,
I was like, anyways.
I just thought it was really funny because it's such a politically based novel, and we have all of the fun politics happening here right now. Super fun.
Oh, God. Super fun.
I prefer these politics. These are so much easier to solve because at the end of the day, if I was involved in these politics, I'd probably just start killing people. You're not allowed to do that though.
The way my solution would just be like, oh, you did a revolution? Let us do now a revolution.
I can, if I could rip apart the earth with an earthquake like Rune did. Oh boy, we're all in trouble now.
The way I'm so glad magic doesn't exist in this world because the way I would be fucking some shit up.
For real though, like, I'd have a house. I'd have a house because I took a house. I got magic. What do you mean I don't get a house? Give me it. I'm going to be a home owner.
The way I would just be magicking money into like...
I have all the bank account dollars.
Oh, the way I would be so corrupt if I had magic.
I said to my therapist the other day, if I could figure out a way to have Elon Musk's money, I'd figure out how to be a more attractive and better person than Elon Musk.
Not hard to do.
Strangely, like, I think all humans kind of look like thumbs with like facial features on them. That's just kind of like what the human face
looks like.
Layout. It's very thumb shaped to me. And Elon Musk somehow looks more like a toe than other people. Like, most people look like thumbs, and Elon Musk looks like one of those, like, the baby toes that people try to like always keep hidden.
Oh yeah,
yeah, one of those. He's the weird baby toe.
The weird baby toe. The toe nobody wants to look at.
Yeah, whereas Gideon is clearly not a thumb or a toe, and is just marbled god, like, because he sounds so hot to me.
The way there was a Gideon in this universe.
Man, I just take him to therapy and brush his hair.
The way I would give up magic. The way I'd be like, oh,
I'm not a witch anymore.
I don't need to cast magic. She didn't even know she had power for magic. The way I would just stop rescuing witches.
The way I would just lay him in my lap and brush his hair until he stopped crying.
It's okay. It's okay.
Like, you're okay now. I love you, and that's all that matters. And a good therapist.
Honey, you need one.
If I need therapy, Gideon needs therapy.
I think we all could agree that Gideon needs some tender love and care.
He needs some TLC and maybe some hypnotism therapy. Some of the, dude, you are getting so sleepy. And when you open your eyes, you'll no longer gag every time you hear someone walking behind you.
You'll no longer gag at the smell of roses.
Bro, and the way that was Cressida behind him on that street that day.
Yeah.
The way she was playing with him. Like, he's just...
The way Cressida was the way I would beat that bitch.
Oh,
the way I would, like, get your ass in the ring.
Dare you?
Be like, you don't get to use magic. We're talking with our fists right now. Get in the ring.
Hands up. Let's go, because these hands are rated for you. Not a violent person, but I'm going to get violent on that face.
The way I'm going to start curb stomping that bitch.
Oh, God, yeah.
Shove her down and start... Because I feel like if Cressida didn't have her magic, I don't think she'd be that strong.
I will say the Spellfire scene, though, was my favorite. And absolutely, Cressida, not strong at all.
Like, I feel like if you took away her magic, like if she couldn't cast magic and you were just going to physically do a fight, I think she'd lose.
Oh, yeah. You could backhand her into oblivion. I will say the Spellfire scene was probably my favorite between Gideon and Rune because he ran and he saved her and then they got that hot kiss.
And the way that, like, and I do think, like, part of me feels like, I feel like Cressida does truly care for Rune in her own sick way.
I think Cressida replaced her sisters with Rune.
And so I feel like I don't think she truly was going to hurt Rune as much as she was upset about
I think she
Gideon.
exposed herself to save Rune.
Yeah. But I also think I think part of her wanted to scare Rune a little bit for the fact that she was getting close to Gideon. Like, I think she exposed herself to save Rune, but also
to make sure Rune would get the fuck away from Gideon, who's ultimately her property.
Yeah, like I think like it was like a double-edged thing. Like I think she does truly care for Rune, but I think also in that moment,
only in the way that she could care for Rune as being corrupted. Because at the end of the day, you almost have to think about like arcane magic as like if they were doing like hard drugs. You know what I mean? Is they're corrupted, and I think Cressida is capable of feelings in the same way like somebody who does meth is capable of having feelings. However, I don't think she's capable of true, genuine feelings.
And so I feel like part of her wanted to save Rune because she couldn't save her sisters, but also wanted to scare Rune because of what she would. Because you could tell with the way Verity's facial features were like described in her glimpses about how upset she was when Rune was talking to Gideon.
Or about Gideon.
Yes.
Although there did come that one point where when Verity noticed Rune was actually truly starting to like care about Gideon, she told her that she thought Gideon was a good choice.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if like it's almost like Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde. You know, Cressida is a very bad person.
I wonder if she was willing to share with Rune.
But I wonder if that need to have family, that need to have what she had with her sisters is manifesting with Rune. This is her family now. This is her sister. You hear her tell Rune at multiple points, we're family, we're sisters. You're all I have now. You are everything to me. And I think that when everything happened, she realized she did inherently lose Gideon, and that either Gideon was going to die or be with her again one day, and that those are the only options for Cressida. But with Rune, she has the opportunity to build family, sisterhood, these things that she did very value with her sisters. And I think in that she realized, you know, if being with Gideon is what would make Rune happy, and she could figure out how to utilize, because this does make Gideon a tool to her again. If Rune and Gideon are together and Rune is able to get information and things from Gideon because of their relationship, that does serve Cressida.
Yeah.
So maybe she was like, okay, well, you know, logistically, this isn't the power move I wanted, but it does work. And in a way, I'm giving her a gift. And if I'm giving her the gift of Gideon, there's no way she can be mad at me for lying to her because I gave her Gideon.
And then also the way I feel like
I gave up what I wanted for her.
And the way like when she and Seraphine were up on the gallows with their like pretty much chains, the way that like she called out my queen, and you could just tell like how happy Cressida kind of was because she immediately got rid of the thing, her glamour, and like set them free. Like the way like I feel like she does.
But I think she loves Rune in the best that she can, despite being a corrupted witch.
But I do also agree with Seraphine. Like now that Rune did that Earth Sunder, she's going to look at her as how
powerful can you ultimately be if that's where you are and you've done nothing but use your fucking period blood to cast,
and how useful can you be to me? How can you further my cause?
Well, yeah,
because unbeknownst to Rune, she has been furthering Cressida's cause by saving those witches.
All those witches have been joining Cressida's army. She's been sitting there directly helping. Cressida has been directly helping Rune further her own army.
Yeah.
You know, I think ultimately what we're going to find out is that Rune is probably some sort of special kind of witch. She's going to pretend to be in cahoots with Cressida until she can get close enough to Gideon to get into cahoots with him. And that due to her ancient magic and the fact that she is such a viable option for being able to take Cressida down, that she is ultimately going to be able to use her pure magic ability to ultimately best Cressida. I think the thing that's going to be hard for me wrap-up-wise is Cressida at the end of the day was Verity. Verity was still very important to Rune. And what will it do to Rune after she's already just barely forgiven herself for killing her grandmother? And then Alex just died. And now she's going to she lost Verity. And she's going to have to be the one to essentially kill her.
Exactly. Also, in the sense that like part of the description for it, like for book 2, makes it seem like she would have to give up her life to kill Cressida too.
Yeah.
So like,
although I do think there will probably end up being some sort of loophole.
Oh yeah, there always is.
You know what I mean?
But that's gonna do something to her too. No, like until that loophole is found, like making that choice pretty much.
Oh yeah, I think, part of me wonders if the way they're going to do that is it's going to be about the wording, maybe her killing Cressida requires magic that would come from the act of stealing Cressida's blood by force, which arcane magic corrupts, and then that would make Rune be forfeiting like her life, and that's what they mean, you're forfeiting your life to dark magic, basically. But then maybe the ultimate sacrifice and the good it restores in the world. You know what I mean? Loopholes,
Yeah,
loopholes. I could see a lot of different ways that it could go and go really well. So I'm actually really very excited for book 2. Book 1 was a little slow for me, but I still really loved it. I still, think that it was really, really well done. It was a little slow for me. And I like a little spice in the books. For me, the spice factor is almost what helps fuel the romance a little bit. And without it, it always feels a little bit like something's missing.
Yeah.
That, and
you just like the spice.
I do like spicy books.
I think overall I did really like it. I am excited to read book 2.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I'm a little bit angry. I couldn't pick it up right away and read it.
No, I'm kind of angry it doesn't come out till like end of
February, yeah, February 18th, I think.
Yeah.
Which is great because that will be a book that we do read here on the podcast. So everybody can look forward to that in February.
Around then, yeah.
Around then, yeah. End of February, early March is when we'll be reading book 2.
I know.
So I'm excited. There's a little sneak peek into future viewing. And I think at that.
Yeah. Mike, thanks for
listening. Thanks for tuning in. Our next books are Rose Red and Rising Dawn, which are 2 books for our next podcast by Elizabeth J. Reckob. You can find them on Amazon, at your local bookstore, and of course, as always, on Kindle for most books.